We had the sister on at the beginning of the show. If 84% of Brazilians thought that death was the proper penalty for leaving Catholicism, wouldn't that be a bigger story?
Yeah, but the point is that you cannot put all that together with the entire Islam or all Muslims. I mean, that's where it becomes dangerous. And that's where, unfortunately, a lot of conversation goes sometimes.
Where it becomes dangerous is that liberals like yourself do not stand up for liberalism. Liberalism means, mostly, equality of women.
Yes.
Free speech.
And there's also
no death threats.
Okay.
All right, there's Bill Maher, surprisingly, making really poignant comments about the left's silence on the issue of the treatment of women, millions of them, the oppression of women under Sharia law. And we've gone through what life is like for women under Sharia. Women can't drive in Saudi Arabia. They can't be seen in public without men that they're related to. They're viewed as property, often is the case. You've got women that have to cover themselves head to toe. But apparently the men like the Sultan of Brunei, they have their harems. I interviewed this woman yesterday. He likes the harems. But what is life really like? Well, some women get stoned to death for adultery. If men rape women, well, the women need 4 male eyewitnesses to prove rape. And homosexuality, you can add the death penalty to that, the death penalty to adultery, death penalty if somebody that is a non-believer in Allah and Islam utters the name of Allah. Anyway, so what is life really like, and why have liberals been so silent? Anyway, we have 3 women that have all lived under Sharia. They have incredible stories to tell, and they all escaped Sharia. Nonie Darwish is with us, also Annie Cyrus. Mani Mustafa is also with us. Ladies, welcome to the program. Appreciate it.
My pleasure, Sean.
All right, Annie, you were. You're not going to say where you were, but under Sharia, you were forced to marry at the age of 15 to a 36-year-old man. Tell us what happened. How did that happen?
Yes. Hi. Actually, it was at age 13 when I was forced to do that. And basically what happened is, as you all know, under Islam, it is legal to marry off your girl at age 9 to anyone you decide to. And basically I survived until 13. And after that, I was actually forced to go under that marriage as a decision of family and society.
Okay, so tell us, what was that? So you married off at 13. How did this man treat you?
Horribly. The first problem is at age 13, you don't really, or at least I didn't really have much understanding of what is marriage or what am I supposed to do with this marriage. So what he did was obviously force me to follow him, to leave my family, my friend, everyone I knew or everyone who supported me, leave them and just be stuck in this little basement and be a slave to clean.
So basically, let me see if I got this right. So you're 13 years old. You get married off in this relationship. And I assume that this all he probably wanted from you was sex. Is that fair to assume?
Yes, definitely.
All right. So basically, and then in the time that you weren't having sex with him, how did he treat you? He locked you in the basement?
No, it was the beating first.
Oh,
it was the yelling and beating. So, and then, yes, you'd be locked in the basement, and he would just walk out and,
So he'd have sex with you,
wanted.
He'd beat you, then he'd lock you in the basement and keep you there for how long a period of time?
Well, it would happen up to 12, 13, 15 hours.
Every day?
Yes.
That was pretty much your daily routine for how many years?
It was only 7 months. That was when I escaped.
When you say escaped, how did you escape?
I was basically smuggled out of the country with the help of my grandmother.
Okay, so your grandmother knew what was going on. She came to your rescue. If you would have gotten caught between the time you left the country and the time you escaped this guy, you would have been killed, right?
Absolutely. Yes,
yeah.
I would be dead.
And your so-called husband, I guess we could call him a pedophile. Apparently he drafted paperwork that you would be stoned to death if you ever returned to your country.
Yes, absolutely. If I ever go back in there, I know to this day my stoning is still in order.
Can I say your country?
Yes.
You're from Iran.
From Iran, correct.
All right, let me move on because we have two other women here, and I want to get their stories in as well. Nonie Darwish, why don't you tell us your story?
Well, I was born and raised as a Muslim in Cairo, Egypt, and I lived under Sharia law for 30 years of my life in oppressive dictatorships and police states. Girls are regularly beaten. I was beaten. It was normal. We never thought that being beaten in the family, domestic violence, was anything wrong. The family honor is all the responsibility of the woman or the girl, and she's the only one who's blamed if a boy looks at her. If you know, when you walk without a man on the street, you can be pinched and groped just because you're not wearing a head cover.
How old were you before you were raped as a young woman?
I was not raped. But I was sexually harassed a lot. I come from a little bit of a family who was educated and powerful, so I was spared being raped.
Your father was a very important person within the military, and he actually he was killed by the Israelis in Gaza in 1956 under Nasser in Egypt. He headed the Egyptian military intelligence in Gaza in the 50s, right?
Correct, and he died in the jihad, and he sacrificed his life, he sacrificed his family for the jihad against Israel. Men are not their loyalty, number one loyalty is not towards their families. Their number one loyalty is towards killing the Jews and attacking non-Muslims. And this is the number one loyalty of the man.
Yeah.
Women are part of his family, but he's not required to be loyal to his wife, number one, like in the Judeo-Christian.
So how would you describe the treatment of most women under Sharia? I mean, because, you know, it's funny, Hollywood finally spoke out about it because of the Sultan of Brunei, and meanwhile I interviewed a woman that was part of his harem last night. But I don't think most people really fully, completely understand. You see, women's rights in America have now been reduced to abortion and free birth control. And I'll say it again and again for all our friends at Media Matters. Abortion and birth control. And meanwhile,
this is an insult to our intelligence. We are living here in America now, whether it's Annie or Amani or myself. We're former Muslim women, and we're being ignored. We've been crying and talking about our situation and the threats we are receiving right here in America. But we are being disinvited to college campuses. When I'm invited, we are called Islamophobes by the left in America, and this is really it's an insult to us, because after 9/11, Sean, we were asked, where are the Arab people who should speak about the oppression of women, terrorism, jihad, and we came out and we subjected ourselves to speak out for this country that saved our lives. And what happened is we're now called Islamophobes.
Now, you founded ArabsForIsrael.com. You wrote 3 books. Now They Call Me Infidel, Cruel and Usual Punishment, and The Devil We Don't Know. I think the titles pretty much speak for themselves, and that is cruel and usual, meaning that's standard operating procedure in terms of women's lives under Sharia. And I think The Devil We Don't Know is what?
Yeah, it's about the revolutions and why the Middle East is a constant state of revolutions. Egypt underwent 1919 revolution, 1952 revolution, 2011 revolution, 2013 counter-revolution, and still counting. Why is that? It's all because of Sharia law. Wherever Islam goes, Sean, it's followed by political turmoil.
So the fact that the left attacks conservatives like myself, by the way, and I've been speaking out about Sharia and the treatment of women for decades on my programs, but they attack me and say, well, you supported Mitt Romney, who had binders with women's resumes in there.
Yeah.
How out of touch are they?
This is an insult to our intelligence. This kind of attack And these are the same people who ignore us, Sean.
Yeah.
We are speaking about female genital mutilation. My own mother underwent female genital mutilation. Thank God she spared me. I was one of the lucky little few ones. We were, all the girls around me were female, underwent this cruel operation. And polygamy. I mean, let's just talk about beating and polygamy. The Muslim marriage contract, Sean, is very different from the Christian marriage. In the Muslim marriage contract, there is no loyalty expected from the husband to the wife. It says please name and phone and address of wife number 1, wife number 2, and wife number 3, if any.
Amani, I read that you don't make a distinction between radical Islam and Islam.
Absolutely, Sean. I think it's important for your listeners to understand that when we are telling our stories today, we're not talking about a culture or people. We're talking about an ideology and a teaching that is designed to really just oppress the world for the sake of Allah. So, as you heard in Annie's story, she's talking about young age marriage, and she said age 9. Age 9 is the age of consummation, but Surah 65 verse 4 allows the man to have a contract and a marriage with any age, even since.
And do they do that? And they do that? Look, I'm running out of time, and I want to make sure I get this in here.
Absolutely.
So you were born in an Islamic Egyptian family. Your mother converted, I guess, quietly to Christianity, and you were later forced to marry a Muslim man because you couldn't escape, even though you yourself had converted to Christianity. How old were you when you got married and were forced to marry, and what was your life like?
Well, I was not forced to marry my ex-husband. I chose him because he said I could worship Christ and live as a Christian in secret. And that was my only chance to have freedom of worship in a country that is ruled by Sharia law. So I was about 20, and after I had my 2 children, I was forced to be veiled and to never.
How old were you when you got married?
Christ.
Because
I was 20.
The ministriesnetwork.org had a piece on you, and I'm reading verbatim that you were forced to. You remained in Egypt, later forced to marry a Muslim man. Although your husband allowed you to practice your faith secretly, he forced you to attend after church after the children were born. And then he finally permitted you and the children to move to the United States with the promise he would soon follow.
Yes, absolutely. I was forced by the laws. That's the meaning of it. I was forced by the laws of Islam because a Muslim woman is never allowed to marry a Christian man by law, by Sharia law. So that was the only choice I had.
And you were beaten after the fact that you went to church while you were in the United States. Is that true?
Well, I was followed by the Muslim terrorists here, and I was forced to be in hiding with my children for fear of our lives for 10 years in the United States.
Well, it says on this website, again, ministriesnetwork.org, you might want to have them change it because it actually says that once in the United States, you began attending church, and it infuriated your husband, who sent people after you, threatening the safety of you and your children.
That is true.
And then you were forced to live as a fugitive, on the run.
Yes. On the run, 10 years here in the United States. It's all true.
In the United States of America. All right, last question for all of you, really quick here. What do you say to women in the United States that seem not to understand what life for so many millions of women is like? What do you say to them quickly?
For me, I would like to say that in any country on earth, do women have rights as much as the United States? We are coming here to America to be saved from Sharia law. We chose to be here because this is the best place for women on earth. And I understand there are challenges wherever we go, but please adopt our cause. We need the feminist movement in America to stand with us, to stand for us, and not ignore us and call us Islamophobes. We're not Islamophobes. We love the Muslim people. We hate Sharia, that's all. We hate the oppression, but we don't hate the people.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, I'm running out of time. Last question, yes or no? Do you think that every woman that lives under Sharia would choose to leave, or what percentage of women?
I would you like someone else to answer?
Anybody, just all three of you. Give me an answer.
I think there is 2 kinds of Muslim women.
No. Real quick. What percentage of women would leave? Yes.
probably 70%. The other 30% are the powerful ones who are benefiting
All right.
by Sharia.
Annie, what do you think? What percentage of women would leave Sharia?
I would say if they were educated enough and if they did have enough backup and support, 100%.
What do you think, Omani? What do you think?
I think probably most of them, about 90% would. And this was said by the imams the Muslim imams said that too. If there was no laws against leaving Islam, everybody would convert.
All right, ladies, thank you for telling your story and sharing it. Sad, very sad. And Hollywood, are you paying attention now? All of you that have been out there attacking me for going after Sharia and radical Islam, talk to the women that lived under it.